because I've had quite a few different e-bikes in like the last 15 years. Like I mentioned this before, I've had like 1, 2, 3, 4, like five production e-bikes, 2 of the same e-bike when one got damaged and they had to replace it under warranty. And then numerous kits. Oh no, six production e-bikes. I forgot about the one I'm riding on. Duh. But I've modified them all in one way or another. The first couple e-bikes I owned, I just changed like the rear gear clusters to try to get a better gear ratio because they were mid-drives. And then I've changed the third one I had. I didn't really change it at all. I just left it alone. And the fourth one I had was a Curdy Skyline. It's kind of a small BMX style. It was a BMX style frame on 26-inch wheels. It was weird, and it was called the electro drive motor, which was a motor that mounted to the on the back wheel on the outside of the fork, and was chain driven. And the mod I did on that was I bought a smaller gear for it, a smaller freewheel gear. It was supposed to make it go a little bit faster because it was a 24 volt system or motor, but I also overvolted it to 36 volts, so it went from going like 15 miles an hour up to about 20. And then on that frame, the Skyline frame, I ended up ditching the electro drive motors because they kept crapping out on me, and I went with the dual hub motors on that bike. And that's the one I crashed at Cal State and broke the frame and waffled my front wheel when I hit a curb because I wasn't paying attention to the kind of wheelchair ramp I was riding up. That's my fault. I really like that bike. It was small and I had to have a really long seat post on it, but it was like nimble. I used to ride it off-road and all kinds of stuff. And then after that, I got a after that bike broke, I rebuilt my GT Aggressor and moved all my my kits over to it. I went with dual hub motors on my GT Aggressor, and then rode that until the bottom bracket failed, and I went to replace the bottom bracket in it. I bought it myself and was going to replace it, and I was having trouble getting the cups out in it, and I used a screwdriver and a mallet to try to pop it out, and I fucked the threads up. So I was able to force the new bottom bracket into it, but then I couldn't get it back out. And it failed eventually, so I just had to abandon that bike because I couldn't ride it anymore because the bottom bracket didn't work. And then I bought a red like Chinese e-bike. It was like a 48 volt e-bike with a 350 watt motor and went like 22 miles per hour top speed, and I figured what I'd do is get that for the time being and then get some money together and buy some more kits. Actually no, I think I left the motor on it that came with, and I threw a front kit on it that I already had but from spare parts. And but I kept breaking spokes in the rear wheel because they were really cheap spokes. And then they ended up sending me a new wheel, and then those spokes broke, and I was like, well, shit. And those motors are still sitting in my garage with the bike frame that I don't really fit on that frame anymore. So I abandoned that bike, and then after that bike, I went with a fat tire mountain bike I bought, and I put a rear kit on it initially. I bought for it a 26 by 4 inch kit. And that was okay, but then it's me and I wanted to go have more power, so then I ended up buying a matching front hub kit for it. The same kit, just a front wheel. But from 2 different sellers. That was a weird part. Because I got one of the kits on Amazon and one of the kits on eBay. I rode around on that for about a year or so. I had 4 battery packs on that. It was a really clean looking build though, because I had the triangle battery, one of the triangle batteries I have on this bike, the Shark style battery I have on this bike, and then in the back of it I had 2 of those blue shrink wrap batteries, and then I had the controllers and everything in the back. and I had the wiring done nice on it. It didn't look like this monstrosity. I enjoyed that bike, but I had a problem where I couldn't get the headset to seat right, and the front fork was always wobbling. I watched every freaking YouTube video I could find, and it just wouldn't work. So I'm thinking there was something wrong with the bike, because I had to buy a new fork for it, because the one it came with was like a generic suspension fork with no adjustments or anything, and I was too heavy for it. So I ended up buying like a Bucklo's fat tire fork. And I knew even if the suspension didn't work, at least it had a lockout on it, and I'd be able to use the lockout. And so I basically had the rigid fat tire mountain bike, which I didn't mind, because fat tire mountain bikes tend to roll over everything, and they tend to absorb the bumps more, so it wasn't that bad. That one went up top speed about 36 miles per hour at 48 volts. It had initially it had two 1500 watt motors and motor controllers, but I had a problem with my phase wires melting, and I had to replace the front wheel controller with a 1000 watt controller, but it didn't really seem to affect the speed at all. Actually, it made it feel more balanced, because you don't need as much power on your front wheel to accelerate as you do your rear, because all your weight's on the rear of the bike, so there's more friction and shit back there. And then after that mountain bike was this bike that I've been riding around on for getting to be a couple years now, I think.